We've been working now for about 15 months on the project. Some of you will have touched in and out of the project, some of you will have contributed already. Fran and I are just going to go through and summarise what's been happening and the opportunities that are still available for you to come and join in. This is a project that is succeeding only by your participation, so please remember that as we go forward. Yay! So, one of the first themes of this project is travelling exhibitions. I came and talked to you last year about the fact these are very simple in conception. They are generally banners in which you can explore a particular topic, and you will have seen one of these downstairs in the lounge area where I think you've been having lunch. If not, when you go down this at some point today, make sure that you look at it. And Richard is here today to talk about that exhibition. We have a number of travelling exhibitions in the regions. We have a Scottish one, Wales in the West, which is actually physically here. We have two in the southeast, one run by the Hockey Museum and one run by the Core Museums. One in the northwest, which is just getting started, and one in the northeastern Yorkshire. And we are looking for somebody to lead on the Midlands area. And I use the term Midlands in its widest and broadest concept. So if you think you're in the middle of the country, please come and speak to me, because you could be the lead. There is a budget. The core budget is £5,000, and then you can come and speak to me about additional resource that you might need in terms of a person to actually deliver the project. So 5 plus a little bit more possibly, if you persuade me that it's necessary. So think of being very persuasive over the next couple of hours. Another element of the project is online exhibitions. These are the topics, and some of you have contributed to these topics, and some of you haven't. So please, if you haven't, come and talk to me, because they are only really as good as the stories that you give us. So the first one that we did was Heroes and Heroines of the First World War. So if you have any individuals in your sporting collections that have a connection with the First or Second World War, then they can go on this online exhibition. We always make sure that we contain a link to your own organisation, which is incredibly important, because that means that traffic moves from the Sporting Heritage website to your website. And it's all about making sure that everyone knows about your really fantastic collections. Fit for Life, sport and rehabilitation, is all about how sport is involved in helping people go back to, in many cases, the armed forces, but it might be go back to being able to work within their own communities. Sport in extreme environments, anything from diving to mountaineering has been involved in that. So I know some of you have collections that use sport in its broadest of concepts, so please come and speak to me if you've got anything that we could use for that one. We have the last 3 exhibitions we're still working on, so there's definitely time for you to get involved in these. Sport and prisoner war camps, you may have within your archives booklets, photographs of your particular sport taking part in prisoner of war camps. Please, please, please come and speak to me. Sport in the Empire is a really broad topic. We're looking at how many sports started off in Empire countries and then were brought back to this country. And again, I am sure there are people in this room who have archives and photographs that would really illustrate that point. And finally, rather a bespoke one that was asked for by the armed forces is sport and royal tournaments, which perhaps is not necessarily one that you will contribute to. There is also time to let me know if you want a particular topic brought forward. As I say, the armed forces asked for royal tournaments. Sporting Heritage could demand another topic of their own. So please, come and tell me what that should be. This is my final bit before I hand over to Fran. We do have funding to digitise collections. There is a very particular date frame for this funding, and that's because it's being part of a wider piece of work that's being carried on by the armed forces at the moment. So the date frame that we're looking at is 1900 to 1929, and we can digitise any collections that have a connection with the armed forces. That's Army, Navy, Air Force. As long as you can track down a connection between your collection and the armed forces, we'll be happy to digitise it. If you have a sportsman or woman who has a connection with the armed forces and is very important and actually doesn't meet those date frames, 1900 to 1929, we can still digitise that material. You just need to explain to me why they are important and need to be done. You can see the number of organisations that we're currently working with. There is a deadline now coming forward because we're coming to the end of this project and we need to get physically out there and digitise your material. So if you haven't been in touch already, you need to be in touch with us by the end of January, and there is information in your pack about how to get involved with this. It's absolutely free, so don't waste this opportunity to get material that is in your archives digitised. The only issue is that we can't catalogue your collections for you. You have to sort through them yourselves. Now, I know that is an issue for some people. Going forward, there may be opportunities to help you with the more nuts and bolts of unpicking your collections, but for the moment, we really need you to go through and tell us that you have material that's suitable.
Right, so moving on to the elements of the project that I've been involved in. As Lynda said, we've been running for about 15 months, and over the lifespan of the project, we were to deliver 6 training events. We've delivered 5 with 1 outstanding. So the ones that we've delivered so far have been in partnership with the Touring Exhibitions Group. We looked at how to create more opportunities to have handling items within your galleries and exhibitions. We worked with Text Workshop, which is run by Dee Burkett, who's the woman who set up Kids in Museums, an ex-Guardian journalist, and Rebecca Milam. They run fantastic text writing workshops. I'd highly recommend them if you ever get a chance to go. And then more recently, Lynda and I have been out on the road doing our roadshow, which ran in London, Leicester and Edinburgh, doing bite-sized topics, recapping those 2 sessions, talking about some of the more nuts and bolts side of digitisation, focusing on metadata. And those of you who've been through digitisation know how important it is to get all that prep work and information in place before you actually put your stuff on the scanner. And then we did some more fun things like looking at how to do mount making on a shoestring budget as well. So after we bent people's brains into different shapes, we then gave them some wire to play with for mounting objects, which worked quite well. We've got 1 session outstanding now, which hopefully will be delivered in a webinar format. And this has been quite a challenge for us to actually set up, just trying to work out how the technology will work across a broad range of networks, a broad range of organisations within your network, but also there's quite a range of organisations within the Army network. The topic for the webinar will be looking at how to tell difficult stories. So whether that's a controversial incident, something about conflict, somebody's personal history, so it's trying to pull on people's experience of how they present difficult stories within an exhibition. There'll be more details of that once we've finally got all the tech pinned down. We've been working with a couple of museums piloting Toolkit, which was written in partnership with the National Council for Volunteering Organisations through an Army Museums Ogilvy Trust project, and we've piloted it during the Sporting Heritage project. We've been working with the Hockey Museum in Woking, and Mike and Carly are here today. And with the Hockey Museum, we were looking at reviewing their volunteer handbook, looking at their role descriptions, and looking at bringing in a new group of volunteers to work on a very specific project that they had in mind. And I look forward to catching up with you both today to find out how that's going on. I'm also working with the wardrobe in Salisbury, which is one of the Army museums. They're the Rifles, Berks and Wiltshire. and they're looking at a different side of their volunteering programme, which is getting all their risk assessments in place, making sure they've got all their induction processes pinned down. They've been working with volunteers like the Hockey Museum for a long time, and it's just trying to consolidate some of all their processes and practices so that they are confident as an organisation that they have their duty of care clearly mapped out, but also the expectations of what they would like their volunteers to be bringing into the museum. So if you're working with volunteers and would like to review how you're doing it or would like to develop something new, do come and talk to me. I've got an example of the volunteering toolkit here with me today. It's just a booklet, and I'm more than happy if you're interested to send it on to you. It's quite a large file, so I can email it or retransfer it to you. But it's just a good starting point, and it's because it was developed by one of the sort of national organisations who specialise in working with volunteers. It signposts you to some other great resources, so it's a good one to have in your library. One of the other strands is looking at developing a learning resource. So we've been working with a consultant called Andy Wincup, who runs an organisation called Past Participants, and he specialises in developing learning within heritage organisations. He is piloting a resource that brings together sporting heritage and armed forces collections. At the moment, the pilots are only happening in army museums, so if you would like to be one of our pilots in the Sporting Heritage organisation, please come and have a word with me today. So at the moment, we've got the Rifles in Winchester piloting a Key Stage 2, so top-end primary session, and the Gurkhas, who are also in Winchester, piloting a Key Stage 3, so that's obviously bottom-end secondary school. We're hoping to have those pilots completed by the end of the year, so there's a little bit of a time pressure on those, but if you would like to get involved, please let me know. The sessions are looking at the moment, they've got a focus on citizenship, but are aimed to be cross-curricular, so obviously bring in history and English and other subjects across the board. Now, this is one of the elements where there's still an opportunity to get involved as well. We've been looking at how we can use our collections to develop adult basic skills. We're looking for museums who'd be interested in sharing their experiences if you're already working with groups who are developing their adult basic skills, so numeracy or literacy or employability skills. And we're looking to put together some top tips and, again, sort of a toolkit style resource. At the moment, we're looking to get people together. So if you're interested, please come and have a word with us. This will be one of the things that goes on until the spring of next year, so there's less of a time pressure on this one. At the moment, our general feeling is lots of people are interested, but nobody's actually delivering in this area, which is one of the reasons why I think it was included in the project, because it's such an area where we could support this strand of somebody's learning project. This is on the back of your digitisation flyer in your packs. So a date for your diary, April next year. By that point, our project will have come to an end, and we'll be having a showcase, so you can hear about all the things that Lynda and I have been talking about today in more detail. There'll be case studies and opportunities to talk to partners who've been involved, and just an opportunity to share good practice and what we've learnt from the project. So we'll be up in Huddersfield at Heritage Quay. It's a venue very similar to this, actually very similar space. When I walked into there, I went, oh, it's just like Heritage Quay. So it's a great space. I know it's quite a way to come from Cardiff up to there, but hopefully you'll be able to make it. So do put it in your diaries, and the programme and booking details will be coming out soon. And I think that was probably my last slide. Come and talk to us. Which I think has been the theme running through both of what Lynda and I have been saying today. There's lots that's happened over the lifespan of the project, but as you can see, there's still opportunities to be involved, and also we're quite keen to share what's happened in the project so far. So we've got a table just behind where the gentleman's filming, and we'll be here today, so come and speak to us. Thank you.